You ever get that feeling, right before everything explodes, that life's been too quiet? Like the calm before a tornado strolls through your living room and redecorates using rage and broken glass. That was me, December 24th, 6:12 p.m., sipping cider and trying to pretend I wasn't stuck in a snow globe of holiday cheer. My wife, Jessica, flitted around the house like she was auditioning for the role of perfect wife in a made-for-TV Christmas movie. Mistletoe here, garland there, fake laughs and forced smiles like clockwork. The oven was working overtime. Our golden retriever wore a Santa hat, and Nat King Cole crooned something ironic in the background about chestnuts and open fires. I should have felt lucky. Most guys dream about this kind of domestic bliss. But I didn't feel lucky. I felt watched. Or maybe it was haunted. Not by ghosts, but by something off. Like someone moved all the furniture 2 inches to the left when I wasn't looking. See, Jessica and I had been married 12 years. We weren't exactly lighting the world on fire anymore, but we had our traditions. Matching pajamas, cinnamon rolls in the morning, a family walk after dinner. And her laugh. Man, I used to love that laugh. Used to. Now, it sounded like it had been through quality control and passed all the fake tests. Still, I ignored it. Because that's what a good husband does, right? Ignores the little things, lets it go, doesn't make a scene. So I went along with the charade. I even wrapped her gift myself, an antique compass she once saw in an old bookstore and called romantic. She'd forgotten it. I hadn't. That night we were hosting dinner. Her parents, my brother, the neighbors who couldn't cook to save their lives. It was the kind of evening that's supposed to be filled with warmth, twinkling lights, and deep, shared gratitude. Instead, it would turn into the opening act of a legend. But we're not there yet. Not quite. You want to know when I should have known something was wrong? It wasn't the perfume. Not the extra effort on her makeup. Not even the sudden spike in gym attendance 3 months ago. No, it was that smile. The one she gave me when she thought I wasn't paying attention. It was tilted, just a fraction too high on one side, like it had been assembled with the wrong instruction manual. But I smiled back. I poured drinks. I shook hands. I played the role I'd been cast in, the same way she was playing hers. And all the while, a storm was brewing in my pocket. And she had no idea I'd be the one to unleash it. Started with the potatoes. Or rather, it didn't start with the potatoes. Jessica always made rosemary roasted potatoes with the Christmas roast. It was her signature dish. But this year, she handed that job off to my brother like it was beneath her. Said she was too busy organizing everything else. Which, if you know my wife, is code for I've got more important things to think about than your comfort food memories. Now, you don't raise an eyebrow over potatoes, unless you've lived through 12 Christmases with a woman who could taste the difference between sea salt and kosher salt in her sleep. But I didn't say anything. Just clocked it. Logged it. Moved on. Dinner prep went on. Laughter bubbled from the kitchen, fake and a little too high-pitched. Her mom was criticizing the tablecloth, classic Diane, and Jessica nodded along like a good daughter while checking her phone every 10 seconds. Not scrolling. Checking. I noticed. She thought I didn't. Around 6:40 p.m., I stepped outside. Not for fresh air, though it helped. I just needed a moment. Something was tugging at my gut like a kid yanking on a sweater 3 sizes too small. And that's when I saw it. Through the frosted window, past the twinkle lights and the chaos of dinner prep, she was smiling. At her phone. You ever see someone smile at their screen like they're in love with it? That was her. That was the smile. The same one she used to give me. Back when we were new and she still laughed like she meant it. I should have turned away. Gone back inside. Pretended it didn't happen. Instead, I waited. Like a man listening to the last creak in the attic before the ceiling caves in. When she left her phone unattended to adjust the oven temp, I didn't hesitate. I walked in. I dried my hands on the towel. And I picked up her phone. Not snooping. Just clarifying. Lock screen. Same passcode. I never needed it before. Never used it. But people don't change their birthday. Swipe. Open. Messages. I didn't have to scroll far. There it was. The name wasn't saved. Rookie move. But the message stood out like blood on snow. This year I make a wish that we can finally be together. Tinsel. Pine. Perfume. And that sentence. That's what I smelled all at once. Everything festive, crushed under the weight of that. My heart didn't break. It hardened. I locked the phone, placed it back exactly where she left it, and went back outside. stared at the snow-covered lawn like it was going to give me advice. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I smiled. Because now I had clarity. Now I had purpose. Christmas was going to be special after all. Dinner was ready by 7:30. Picture perfect. Roast sizzling. Candles lit. Table set with military precision. The kind of setting Instagram influencers fake their lives around. Jessica, ever the orchestrator of aesthetics, floated in wearing her green velvet dress, the one she knew I liked. The one that used to mean something. Now it just looked like camouflage for guilt. Everyone took their seats. Her dad told the same story he tells every year about forgetting the cranberry sauce in '98. My brother laughed a little too hard. He always does when he's uncomfortable. Jessica leaned in and pretended to be engaged in the moment. I played along, smiled, passed the rolls, complimented her mom's blouse, even laughed when her dad made a joke about my haircut. It was Oscar-worthy, honestly, but inside, I was somewhere else entirely, sitting at a table in my head, drinking alone with the truth. I could feel the phone burning a hole in her pocket from across the table. I could tell she was itching to check it, to see if her holiday side project had responded. Did he say he missed her? That he wished he was there instead of me? Did he promise her a future? I didn't care. Not really. Because I already knew my next move. And it wasn't going to be subtle. By the time we hit dessert, Jessica's famous spiced pear tart that suddenly tasted like sand in my mouth, I knew it was time. I stood, fork down, napkin folded, glass raised. Can I make a toast? I asked. Jessica looked at me with that tight-lipped smile she reserved for public settings. Of course, honey. Everyone quieted down. Glasses lifted. I looked around the table, at family, at love, at what used to be a life. Then I turned to her. And this year, I said, voice calm, clear, a little too cheerful, I make a wish to be free. I held the pause, let the silence thicken like gravy gone cold. Then I smiled, nodded to the room, and added, Merry Christmas. And I clinked my glass. Her face. That face. It was like watching someone realize their car is about to hit a tree and they've just remembered they left the parking brake off. She laughed, short, nervous. What's that supposed to mean? I sipped the champagne and looked her dead in the eyes. It means I've been thinking about what I want in the new year. And freedom sounded festive. Still smiling. Still calm. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. The color had already drained from her face. The party didn't crash. No screaming. No flipped tables. Just the most awkward forkful of pear tart ever consumed by 6 people trying really hard not to exist. I sat back down, took another bite. Best Christmas I've had in years. The dinner didn't end, exactly. It fizzled, like a dying fire that everyone politely watched until they could pretend they weren't cold. Conversation limped along in hushed tones. My brother kept glancing at me like I had a grenade in my lap with the pin halfway out. Jessica smiled through her teeth. Her social smile. The one she used with cashiers and people she secretly despised. I just kept eating. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't flip the table or call her a cheater in front of her parents. No, that's not my style. I prefer implication. I find it gets under the skin more effectively than shouting ever could. And judging by how often Jessica reached for her wine, it was already burrowing in. After the dishes were cleared and the last guest had made their awkward excuses, we stood alone in the kitchen, just the two of us, and the echo of our dying marriage bouncing off the granite countertops. She turned to me, arms folded, trying to look composed. What was that toast about? I dried my hands on a dish towel, calm as you like. A wish for the new year. Don't be cryptic, Daniel. You embarrassed me. I looked at her then, not as my wife, not as the woman I married under a canopy of white lilies, but as the stranger she'd become. A stranger with familiar eyes, lying with a smile. Did I? I asked, mockingly thoughtful, because I was under the impression I was the one being embarrassed. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, just enough to confirm what I already knew. She knew I knew, but she was hoping I didn't know how much I knew. That little dance of plausible deniability. I have no idea what you're talking about, she said, arms still crossed, mouth still performing. And that's when I realized something truly hilarious. She thought I was bluffing. Not just bluffing, fishing. Like maybe I'd seen a text, or heard a rumor, or found a receipt that could be explained away with enough sighing and gaslighting. She didn't know how deep I'd already dug. She didn't know I'd gone full archaeologist on this betrayal. I gave her a long look. The kind of look you give a ticking clock when you know exactly when it's going to strike midnight. Then I leaned in, voice low. Tell me, Jess, what did you wish for this year? I watched her carefully, because I happened to glance at your phone earlier. There it was. The freeze. No blink. No breath. Just stillness. For a fraction of a second, she was a statue carved from guilt and bad decisions. She recovered quickly, but not fast enough. You went through my phone, she said, voice rising with indignation she hadn't earned. That's a complete violation of privacy. I laughed, one short, sharp breath of disbelief. You know what else is a violation, Jess? Sleeping with someone who isn't your husband while wearing the engagement ring he gave you under a sky full of fireworks. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. Air. Silence. Regret. I didn't, she started. But I raised a hand. Don't. I'm not doing this dance. I'm not playing detective while you play actress. I saw the message. This year I make a wish that we can finally be together. I repeated it like a prayer to know God. She looked away. So that's it, I thought. That's the moment. The moment it's real for her. Not when she sent the text. Not when she kissed him. Not when she met him in whatever rented room she thought I'd never know about. No. It was real now, because now I knew. She sat down at the kitchen island, suddenly looking smaller. Who is he? I asked, though I already knew. She didn't answer, which told me everything. I nodded. Figured. Silence stretched between us, awkward and brittle. Are you going to leave me? She asked quietly, without looking up. I considered it. The simplicity of that option. The clean break. Letting her off the hook with a signature and a moving truck. But see, the thing about betrayal is it demands balance. It's not just about losing someone. It's about losing them while they smile in your face and lie to your soul. And if you don't even the scale, that weight sits on your chest for the rest of your life. No, I said. I'm not leaving. Her eyes flicked up, startled. Hope? Confusion? Hard to say. You are. And then I slid the envelope across the counter. Inside? A full dossier. Photos. Dates. Hotel receipts. GPS data. Even a voice recording or two. I didn't need a private investigator. I was the investigator. Turns out when your wife cheats, Google, Bluetooth, and a shared iCloud do most of the heavy lifting. She opened it. She read. And for the first time in years, Jessica had nothing to say. I've already filed, I said. Merry Christmas. She looked like someone had yanked the floor out from under her and replaced it with ice. You don't want to try to fix this? She asked, like the affair was a loose doorknob. I almost laughed. You don't patch a boat after it's sunk. And then I walked upstairs. Not slamming doors. Not yelling. Just done. Because tomorrow I begin part 2 of my little Christmas miracle. And trust me, it's the part where I stop playing nice. There's a particular calm that comes after a decision's been made. Like the eye of the storm. You don't feel the wind. You are the wind. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was brooding or hurting. No, that part had already burned out. I stayed up organizing files, sending emails, checking timestamps. She was asleep upstairs, curled up in the guest room, probably crying into one of the throw pillows she used to obsess over. The same pillows she once lectured me on for not fluffing properly. Now she could sob into them all she liked. By 7 a.m. Christmas morning, I was dressed, shaved, and sipping coffee. Suit and tie. Navy blue. Crisp. Not for church. Not for celebration. For war. The kind fought in conference rooms and on legal documents, silent but devastating. Jessica stumbled in some time after 8, makeup smudged, wearing my college sweatshirt like we were still 22 and in love. She paused in the doorway, probably thinking the sad eyes and messy hair might trigger nostalgia. It didn't. All I saw was a shell with designer lashes. You're dressed? She asked, voice hoarse. I've got somewhere to be, I replied, not looking up from my tablet. On Christmas. Turns out betrayal doesn't take holidays. Her eyes narrowed. The charm had worn off. Now came the defense strategy. Look, Daniel, about last night. Don't, I said, and the way I said it stopped her mid-sentence. There is nothing you can say to me that will unburn the bridge you danced across with a smile. So let's skip the rehearsal and get to the credits. She didn't like that. She started pacing, rubbing her hands together. Some people cry. Jessica gets performative. I made a mistake, she said. I tilted my head. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You made a series of choices. Repeatedly. In secret. With feeling. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish too proud to admit it's drowning. Who is he, really? I asked, setting down my mug. Tell me, give me something before I bury you in lawyers. She sat slow, like she was deciding whether honesty would buy her points or just shorten the rope. His name is Adam. We met at a conference. He's married too. I nodded. So not only are you a liar, you picked another liar to ride shotgun with. She flinched. It wasn't like that. It's exactly like that. Two people orbiting their own miserable little planets, pretending gravity doesn't apply when they collide. She sniffed. Are you going to ruin my life now? I stood, picked up my keys, gave her a long, level look. I'm going to do something much worse. She tensed. I'm going to move on. But first, I'm going to make sure you don't get a dime more than what decency allows. And then I left. Now, let me tell you about Adam. Jessica was sloppy with her secrets. You know how some people double lock the front door but leave the windows wide open? That was her. I had everything. His number, his face, his address, his LinkedIn, middle management, wife, kids, Christmas photos on Facebook with matching sweaters and fake snow. Perfect. I didn't want violence. I didn't need blood. All I wanted was the same thing he took from me, peace. And I was going to take his, with interest. I'd already mailed the evidence. To his wife. That morning, she received an envelope with no return address. Inside, pictures, texts, times, dates. I included the line from Jessica's message. This year I make a wish that we can finally be together. Let me tell you something. Hell hath no fury like a woman who finds out her husband's been feeding Santa cookies in someone else's living room. I didn't know her name, but I trusted the contents would do the heavy lifting. Then I stopped by my lawyer's house. Yes, on Christmas. Gregory Lane, Harvard grad, divorce attorney who makes sharks look like goldfish. I'd already paid him a retainer weeks ago, back when the suspicion became certainty. He opened the door wearing reindeer pajamas and a smug grin. Daniel, Merry Christmas. Didn't think I'd see you today. I handed him a flash drive. This is everything. I want the works. No spousal support. I keep the house. She gets her stuff in a box on the lawn. Gregory's grin widened. You want to keep it clean, or do we bleed? We bleed, I said, but with a smile. He clapped his hands. I love Christmas. By the time I got back home, Jessica had packed a suitcase. I'm staying at my sister's, she said, eyes swollen. Great. Let me know where to send the court papers. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. I didn't respond, just held the door open. And that silence, that moment when she looked at me one last time hoping I'd say something, that was my victory lap. She walked out. I closed the door behind her like it was the end of a bad season of television. One where the main character finally learns his lesson. And what lesson was that? Trust is a currency. Once someone bankrupts it, you don't give them a second loan. I sat down in the living room. Fire still glowing. Her ornaments still hanging. One stocking now useless. And I smiled. Because the hardest part was done. The rest? Just clean up. 3 days after Christmas, the tree was still up, but the house already felt lighter. Not in the festive way. More like something toxic had finally evacuated the building. I kept it all in place out of irony. Twinkling lights, ornaments, even her gold-embroidered, Our First Christmas ornament from 2011 still hung near the top like a ghost that hadn't figured out it was dead. I wasn't in a rush to take it down. Jessica hadn't contacted me since she left. Not a single text. No apology, no anger, no attempt to spin it back around in her favor. That told me one thing. She was bracing for the impact. Probably waiting to see how hard the hammer would drop. Smart. When someone finally realizes you're done playing the fool, they stop talking and start calculating. But I wasn't just swinging the hammer. I was pulling blueprints from the vault. I had no intention of just leaving a broken marriage behind. No, I was going to leave a trail. Because I'd learned something important through all this. When you've been made a fool in silence, revenge doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be permanent. First stop, her job. Jessica worked in PR at a boutique design firm downtown. Think high heels, espresso machines, and an office dog named Baxter. Her reputation was sparkling, detail-oriented, team player, a people person. Until one anonymous envelope made its way into her boss's office on New Year's Eve. No return address. Just a USB drive and a note that said, "Thought you should know how your head of partnerships spends her partnerships." The USB contained nothing illegal. No revenge porn, no threats. Just screenshots of Jessica's text with Adam, hotel confirmations booked on the company's travel credit card, and one particularly passionate message sent at 3:17 p.m. on a workday. During an active client meeting she was supposedly attending via Zoom. Oops. I didn't hear the fallout, but I didn't have to. By the next day, her LinkedIn profile was updated. Open to work. Second stop, Adam. Remember that happy little home he built? The one with the 2 kids and the golden retriever and the backyard trampoline? It didn't survive the blast. Turns out, his wife, her name's Melissa, by the way, wasn't just a stay-at-home mom with a yoga habit. She was also the sole beneficiary of her father's estate, and a woman with a lot of free time and access to shared bank accounts. The day after she got the envelope, she froze their joint credit cards, changed the locks, and posted one hell of a message on Facebook. Something along the lines of, "To the friends and family who supported me and my children, thank you. To the ones who supported my husband's affair, don't bother reaching out. He'll be forwarding his mail to a hotel room soon." It had 142 comments in the first hour. I counted. Adam, like most men who cheat, hadn't planned past the part where he got caught. He tried to backpedal, tried to explain, tried to claim Jessica was the one chasing him. But Melissa had the receipts. Literally. One of the photos I'd slipped and showed him at her place. Same sweater he wore in their family Christmas photo. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. That one cost him custody. Now, people ask me, was it really worth it? Torching 2 lives just because yours got burned. And to that I say, they lit the match. I just built the bonfire. On the personal front, the divorce was going as planned. Gregory Lane, my shark of a lawyer, had filed everything before the champagne even went flat. We cited irreconcilable differences, but behind the legal speak, it was simple. She cheated, she lied, she gets nothing extra. No alimony. No second chance. She tried to negotiate, of course, through her lawyer. Her first offer was laughable. She wanted to keep the house, the SUV, and a portion of my retirement. Gregory sent back a response that could have been printed on a middle finger. She ended up walking away with her clothes, a used Toyota, and a storage unit full of designer regrets. But the most satisfying part? The moment I ran into Adam. In person. It was at a cafe near the courthouse. Total accident. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years in 2 weeks, unshaven, eyes baggy, tie loose like it had given up halfway through the day. He was stirring coffee like it owed him an apology. He looked up and saw me. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I saw fear. Not fear of violence. No, that's too dramatic. This was fear of relevance, the realization that I wasn't just the guy his mistress was married to. I was the guy who dismantled his life without ever raising my voice. He stood, hesitating, like he wanted to say something. Maybe to explain, maybe to apologize. I beat him to it. "Don't bother," I said. "I'm not here for a scene. I just wanted to see the man who lost everything over someone else's wife." He winced. "You two deserve each other," I added. "Which is why it's beautiful that you'll never actually end up together." And then I walked out. Didn't look back. That night, I poured myself a drink, sat by the still-lit Christmas tree and laughed. Not because I was happy, but because I was finally free. Free from the noise, the lies, the pretending. I didn't have to smile through gritted teeth anymore. Didn't have to wonder why her hugs felt cold or her phone was always upside down. She was gone. And so was the part of me that ever believed she'd come back different. All that remained was a man who'd walked through fire and made sure the ones who lit it came out even smokier than he did. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't end when the cheater walks out. It lingers. Like smoke in the curtains. Like a song stuck in your head that you used to love but now makes you want to punch drywall. The weeks that followed were quiet. Not peace and quiet. Just quiet. No one laughing in the kitchen. No one asking where the wine opener went. No one pretending to love me with that dead-eyed. I started filling the silence with life again. Gym in the mornings. Long drives with the windows down. Lunches that weren't pre-approved by someone obsessed with macros. I even started playing guitar again, something I hadn't done since she made a snide comment about how it was cute, but maybe I should focus on more productive hobby. Guess what, Jess? Turns out Spide is wildly productive. The guy I used to be? The one who laughed too loud and didn't apologize for it? He came back. And man, he missed me. I heard through a mutual contact that Adam tried to reach out to Jessica. Apparently, she ghosted him. Which is poetry, really. Turns out they're big romantic. We could finally be together. Dream collapsed under the weight of real life. She wasn't looking for love, just validation. And he was never looking for her, just an escape. When reality hit, they both flinched. He lost custody, moved into a studio apartment above a dry cleaner, and was last seen arguing with the barista about almond milk. Oh, how the mighty adulterers fall. Mid-February, I got a handwritten letter from Jessica. That alone was weird. She never liked handwriting anything, said it was archaic. Guess betrayal makes people nostalgic. Inside the envelope. Daniel, I've had time to think. You were always good to me. I was selfish. I ruined something that mattered. I hope someday you can forgive me. I'm so sorry. There was a photo inside. From our trip to Italy. Venice. I was holding a gelato in one hand and her in the other. We looked happy. Keyword. Looked. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and slid it into a drawer I now use to keep things that don't matter. Then I booked a trip to Italy. Solo. On the anniversary of that dinner, 1 year after the toast heard round the table, I hosted a gathering. Not a pity party. A celebration. Friends, old and new. My brother brought his new girlfriend. I cooked, played guitar, wore that same navy blue suit, because it fits me better now. Right before dessert, I stood up with a glass of whiskey in hand. Everyone went quiet. I smiled. And this year, I said, voice calm and clear, I make a wish for joy. And this time, I meant it. No secret double meaning. No buried sarcasm. Just a man who walked through the fire, kept his backbone, and came out not just whole, but better.